What's up? This is Brandon Simmons for BrandonSimmons.biz, and this is my weekly video blog called Bullheaded, a review of the Houston Texans news, as well as a preview of their upcoming game matchups. Now, this is the game that I and probably a lot of Texans fans have been waiting for, as well as a lot of Broncos fans. Texans are going into Denver on Monday Night Football and taking on the Denver Broncos. Now, other than the fact that there's just so many storylines going on, this just pretty much may be the game of the first half of the season, at least. What you have here is two of the top defenses, especially in the past defensive ranks, going against each other. And also you got a couple of quarterbacks that have kind of put themselves in a different kind of quarterback controversy. You see, earlier this year, John Elway kind of implied that John Elway made a statement saying that, sometimes the best deals are the ones that you don't make. And they seem to be taking a shot at current Houston Texans quarterback Brock Osweiler, who signed with the Texans in the offseason after refusing quite a few deals from the Broncos at around that same time. So fast forward to this year, and Osweiler has not been doing as hot as the $72 million contract that he was offered during this that he was offered with the Texans this year. So pretty much that little line right there had everybody in their feelings. But I have to say, lately Trevor Siemian, he hasn't been too hot himself, and that's not a biased opinion. He started off pretty good, and, he even had one game where it was like threw 4 touchdowns in the game, but, nothing outside of that, nothing, pretty much spectacular. In fact, let's just go ahead and do a little comparison of the numbers. Brock Osweiler completed 59% of his passes, 1,400 thrown for 1,400 yards, 8 touchdowns, 8 picks, and with a 74.1 quarterback rating. Trevor Siemian, a little bit more favorable on the numbers, actually, 65% completion percentage, throwing for 1,054 yards, 7 touchdowns, and only 3 picks, with a 92.4 quarterback rating. Now, as I said, he's done a good job so far, and probably a lot better than what people thought that he would do as a quarterback coming in after, the greatest quarterback of all time, Peyton Manning. But, if you take away that 4 touchdown game, you have a quarterback who's 3 touchdowns, 3 picks, and you have a guy that's pretty much just relying on his defense and run game, similar to what Manning kind of did late last year. But the difference between him and Manning, and not the obvious difference, but the difference between him and Manning is Manning was pretty much at the downward spiral of his career, because of injuries and everything else, he probably really wasn't able to be the Peyton Manning that a lot of people wanted him to be. So he had to rely on running game and defense. In Trevor Siemian's case, he just threw his first pass this season, so I would say that there's not really a knock on him. He's literally he's pretty much a rookie, basically. So he's still probably learning the ins and outs of the game itself. So definitely, if I was Elway, that little line he said, probably a good one, but I probably wouldn't put it out there for, a quarterback that's pretty much one game. That's pretty much one game away from just being left with 3 touchdowns or whatever. But that's besides the point. The real point of this is that both of these teams are going to be facing off, and so the real battle in that game is going to be between the defenses. So as I mentioned, both of those defenses are 2 of the top 5 defenses in the NFL right now. You have the Texans, who's found resurgence in their pass rush after Watt was ruled out for the year a couple weeks ago, and they got a pretty decent secondary as well. You have the Broncos, who is actually number 1 with pass defense, and also have a pretty great pass rush in themselves with DeMarcus Ware and also with Von Miller leading those edges on. So it's definitely going to be a battle between the two defenses, and is what even makes this battle even more great is that you have two quarterbacks who are prone to a couple of mistakes. Like I said, both of these guys are new into their systems, and while one is obviously excelling a little bit better um, in the system statistically, you have another who is not doing so much. But you also have one in this scenario. You have one guy who's not, as I just mentioned, you got one guy in Simeon who's not really being relied upon to win them the game, as opposed to Osweiler, whose arm is kind of relied upon to take the Texans to victory week in and week out. And so you definitely see that in the games. If Osweiler's not getting going or getting in the rhythm, then the whole offense is going to pretty much be off. Basically, the whole team is going to be off or down. So once he gets going, the whole team gets going. You see that in the offense passing on down to the defense. So with that pretty much being said, going back to the original point that I had, the defense is going to be it's going to be a battle between the defenses, and in particular the secondaries. So if they can force those guys to make mistakes, basically that battle is going to be won with the coaches. Which secondary coach or which defensive coach can outplay the opposing offensive coordinator better? The opposing who can outplay the head coach better? What strategies do you have to force these young quarterbacks into throwing incompletions, throwing interceptions, making just the wrong reads and taking sacks, by their pass rush, by their D line and linebackers? So it's definitely going to be a matchup where the coaches are probably going to decide this game a little bit more than who's out there on the field. And so, with that being said, as long as the coaches can, keep the defense sharp, there's also going to be a battle of like whose defense is going to wear down first. These are two great defenses, and it's going to be a matchup of wills. The quarterbacks, we talked about them, but also just looking at the running backs for each team. C.J. Anderson. Lamar Miller, C.J. Anderson's obviously, without even looking, I could tell he's probably having like a great year or whatever. But Lamar Miller as well, you've seen him in the games. If he doesn't, like I said about Osweiler, if he doesn't get going, offense doesn't get going. Same thing for Lamar Miller as well. Like if the running game is not on point, then our whole offense is going to be completely out of whack. So definitely. We're gonna need to get him going early, as well as him and Alfred Blue are gonna need to be getting going and attacking the Broncos defense, and which is actually the Broncos run defense is probably like the one area of defense that they need to work on. They give up about 112 yards a game, and ours too. We need to work on that as well. We give up 126, but definitely if our offense can take the opportunity to just run the ball with Miller as well as Blue, and just keep that defense wore out, then we should be able to take shots down the field. I believe Will Fuller is going to be returning to this game. He missed last week because of a hamstring injury, but we'll definitely be able to take these guys. We'll definitely be able to beat that defense down, and whether it's just pushing them back and just getting a couple field goals out of it, a couple field goals that'll lead to a touchdown. As long as we can, just keep scoring on these drives and just keep putting them on long drives, then we'll definitely be able to have this game locked up. So, with that being said, I can't wait for the game. Probably going to be a classic. Hopefully a classic for us. I'm Brandon Simmons for BrandonSimmons.biz. This is my blog, Bullheaded. Holla.